If you guys just started getting into music production and you're running into this issue when you guys are looking up music tutorials, you see people using expensive plugins and you're asking yourself,
do I have to buy expensive plugins to make professional sounds?
In this video, I'm going to go over what plugins to buy and to not buy. And be sure to stick around for the end where I'm going to give you my personal recommendations on what the most important thing to start out paying for is and what you don't need to pay for. What is up, everybody? Welcome. Thank you for finally watching a video. If it's your first time, I appreciate it so much. If you're new here, let me know. Get a cup of coffee and let me know in the comments if it's your first time here. If you haven't, check out me on my website, makotheproducer.com, Spotify, Apple Music, all your streaming platforms, YouTube, obviously. But without any further ado, let's jump into the video. All right, so here's why I made this video. There are a ton of choices when it comes to music production.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Music Center. How may I help you today?
Yeah, I'm wanting to get into music production.
Awesome, you and thousands of other people.
I'm sorry?
Don't worry about it. Well, if you wanted to get started, let's first off, we gotta get a DAW.
What's a DAW?
You need a program to run all the music stuff, you know.
Sure, okay, which one would you recommend?
Fortunately, I got tons of options for you.
Okay, I'll just do the cheapest one.
I got Ableton, I got FL Studio, I got Cubase, I got Pro Tools, I got Reaper, I got it all.
Take the cheapest one you got.
Well, the basic version of Studio One costs you about $500. And yeah, you can do like 200 tracks, but you know, really what you should do is pay $1,000 for Ableton.
What?
The full version, because you get all the plugins and all the tracks. But, you know, if you're really on a budget, you could get FL Studio, and, you know, that can only cost you like $300 or so.
Music producers make like
you only
nothing?
get like 4 tracks and only like 3 plugins, and you get 2 viruses.
You get the idea. And that's not even talking about things like headphones, plugins, or sample packs, gear, or speakers, etc., etc., etc. It goes on forever, and it's like,
alright, so that'll be
$1,500, please.
you can always buy something else. Now, first, let me start out by saying there is hope for us all. Us all. My highest YouTube video is a song that cost me basically nothing to produce. That's right, the Greatest Showman remix was made in, you got it, LMMS, which I've talked about multiple times on this channel. I had a computer that's the only thing that probably would count as costing me money, and it was a Windows 7 computer that was an old server that my dad brought home from work because they sold it to him for like $100, and I used it. I had some JBL speakers from a Windows 98 computer. They were JBL, but they were not anything super great. Any sample packs that I got were from freesound.org, and the track was pulled from YouTube, and that's how I made the Greatest Showman remix. And it almost has 200,000 views. Is that crazy or what? You know what? Like, comment, subscribe to this video, and then go check that one out. Actually, finish this video and then go check it out if you wouldn't mind. I'd appreciate it so very much. The point is, you don't need expensive software to make music. Did you hear me? Did you hear me? Because don't you forget it. There are plenty of free plugins, DAWs, and tools out there for you to get your hands wet in music production without having to pay for it. All right. So if you've been paying attention, you might notice that I have paid for some things. And you're probably asking,
Mako, you're using Ableton now and using expensive software and speakers and equipment. Aren't you a hypocrite?
These are my reasons for switching to expensive software. First off, it's a more professional DAW, which means potentially more professional work experience. And what I mean by that is when it comes to working with other artists, I have found that if I tell them I use Ableton, they immediately see me and they kind of understand what the program is and what it does. I had so many times where I told people, yeah, I made that in LMMS, and they're like, what is LMMS? Never heard of it before. Second thing you gotta know is I have slowly been upgrading my equipment over time. So this didn't just happen overnight, is basically what I'm trying to say. I spend a lot of time researching what equipment is best and then find the most affordable way to purchase it. So I try, there's been a couple things and I've learned from those experiences, but most of what I buy is not an impulse buy. And what I have found is the benefit of expensive software is there's better support and tutorials for it. Here's the deal. pay attention to this part of the video. If you don't get anything else from it, get this. If paying for software or equipment is an excuse for not being able to create good music, then it's an excuse, not a necessity. It is better to make crap and then purchase something that fulfills a need. This next part of this video, I wanna go over some guidelines, some questions that we need to make before buying something. So I want you to follow these from now on, and I'm gonna follow these from now on. So first question you need to ask yourself, is this something that I'm gonna use consistently? Are you gonna use the thing that you're gonna buy more than just one time for the project that you're using? If it's something like a pitch bend plugin that you're gonna use for every single track, then maybe it's gonna be worth it to invest in that thing. The second question, is there a free alternative? Have I tried it? If I have, what is the free alternative lacking that I really need? And then the third question is, am I able to return the product? Or am I able to try it out without paying for anything? Basically, you want to look for a money-back guarantee of some sort. And the reason for this is, when we're going through this, my goal is to get you to pay as little money as possible. That doesn't mean you're gonna not spend money, but I want you to not have to waste your money on plugins that don't really do a lot for you. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you that have been watching this content. It really gets me amped up. Yeah. And I appreciate everybody that's been paying attention, getting something out of this, commenting. I plan to reply to every single comment on any future video for as long as I can for the next conceivable future, and I would appreciate you putting it down there. I love getting questions from you guys and answering them. So if you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, and let's get to the last part of the video, basically what I promised from the beginning. Let's determine what we should buy first and my personal recommendations. Okay, so what I'm guessing is most of you have no money, or you have very little money, or if you're just starting out, you know very little about music production. Download LMMS. I keep saying this, but download it. It's free. The only exception to this is if you're a Mac user. If you somehow are able to afford a Mac, then use GarageBand. You paid for it, basically, so use GarageBand. It is better for Mac users. I'm just gonna put that out there. It has more support, more options. If you don't like using LMMS, try a different free DAW. There are other ones out there. I'm just not as familiar with them. But try them out and learn the basics. Before buying new plugins, ask yourself, have I learned the synths in the DAW that I am currently using? Chances are you won't have much better luck when you pay for software than just using the plugins that are already built in to your DAW. You need to learn the basics before you can start using the more advanced things. But if you want a few free plugins to try out, here are just a few recommendations to get you started. Vital. I think Vital is a worthy successor to Serum. If you've ever heard of it before, it's a wavetable synth. It is free, completely free to use and make sounds. So check it out. It's really a great starter synth for you to try. And I would recommend just using that one. The only other synth I would recommend is get a piano on there, because I find it really helpful to just have a real instrument, and pianos, honestly, for real instrument sounds are easiest to recreate, and I find it very helpful for chords or plucking out a melody or things like that. And there's a website that I found a while back called bedroomproducersblog.com, and they have a whole section on free plugins, so go check that out. I'll put that link in the description. Start there, and when you learn the basics, we will move on to start buying something with that cold hard cash that you've been saving up so much. So the very first thing, essential thing I think you should buy is a good pair of headphones, okay? You'll thank me later because you'll get good mixes from it. Your roommates or your parents or whatever will thank me later too. Trust me, I wish I had done this sooner because I would have annoyed a lot less people. And then the next thing I would recommend is, once you've learned the basics in your first DAW or even your second DAW, find a DAW that you want to purchase, okay? It can be Ableton, it can be FL Studio, it can be Cubase, it can be Logic, it can be whatever. But what I would recommend before buying any of them is try every single one out, because it doesn't matter what you use as long as it's what you're comfortable with. And don't get me wrong, you're not going to be comfortable with it immediately, but try it out. The reason I chose Ableton is because I tried out it and I actually liked the interface and the workflow better than I liked FL Studio. And what I would say is, I've been producing music for about 8 or 9 years, so I wish I had switched to a more professional DAW sooner than later. I wish I had purchased something like Ableton or FL Studio 4 or 5 years max into learning music production, but I just couldn't afford it and it wasn't highest priority for me. So those are my 2 recommendations for your first purchases. But before you make your next purchase after that, I'll have another YouTube video out there. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I am gonna never say that again, but give that like button a huge smash for the YouTube algorithm. I think that's what all the cool kids are saying these days. And I hope you found the video to be helpful for you. Comment what you think is the most helpful music tool you have purchased. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video. Get 'em.